It's as the title says about Finland and what Finland offers for biomedical research, especially through its biobank infrastructure. So I'll just jump in the presentation, and here's a little bit about this Finnish Biobank Cooperative, FinBB, that I'm representing here. So this is an entity established a couple of years ago in 2017, and its members are the 6 biggest hospital districts of Finland and 6 universities and the Finnish Institute of Health and Welfare. So the hospital districts are a little bit like the regions in Denmark. So these regional authorities, organizations who run hospitals, for example, and provide healthcare services. And what we have developed is a kind of host of services branded FinGenius. And there's a kind of technical platform, online services that offer basically a centralized access to the biobank materials, bio data, and also contacting services to potential study participants through the Finnish biobanks. So concretely, you can basically log in on this site that you see, fingenius.fi, and you can file in or submit questions about what kind of material is available, and you can submit access requests for biobank data and samples, and also then these recontacting services. The FinBB serves researchers both from the academic world and then the industry. And FinBB has been authorized by its member owners to contract on their behalf. So basically do material and data transfer agreements and service agreements centrally through our organization. And if there's any profit left after the costs, then the benefits will go to our hospitals and universities. Here's a kind of an outline of how the biobank map looks like in Finland. So you can see these more regional biobanks on the left-hand side, and then more national biobanks on the right-hand side. So 11 biobanks in total, 6 hospital biobanks, a university biobank. There's a Red Cross Blood Service runs a biobank. The National Institute of Welfare and Health runs a biobank, and there's one private health care provider as well, Terveystalo, who run a biobank of their own. And the FHRB is a hematological biobank. So those are the biobanks that FinBB represents or collaborates with, and here's a little bit more about how the kind of, let's say, ecosystem looks like here. So we have the founding hospitals and universities, the members of FinBB, and the biobanks, and then many kinds of strategic collaboration partners. FinData is the national agency for providing permissions for medical records and social care records. Then the BBMRI ERIC, of course, FinBB is the national coordinator of the BBMRI activities. This is a Europe-wide research infrastructure of biobanks and biomolecular research infrastructures. So long name there. FinGen, some of you may have heard of, very large research project run by the Helsinki University and many others participating, a kind of public-private cooperation, a project where 10% of the Finnish population is genotype and typed, and then the genotype and phenotype connected and analysis performed. Cancer centers, neurocenters, all these kinds of, and of course all the researchers then nationally and internationally. So more about then the kind of ingenious services here. What do they offer? So basically the platform offers a digital gateway to the Finnish biobanks. First in class service in Europe. I don't know who gave it that status, but let's believe that. And it has really been built to serve both academic and industrial researchers and generally to advance research. And it also provides a single point of contact. So you can contact FinBB through FinGenius services, and you get access to all the biobanks in Finland through this one node. And that also works for contracting in most cases. Unique research opportunities. I think there's more details coming on later, but new samples, new data, and also these recontacting services, as I mentioned. So finding potential study participants and contacting them. Biobank studies, real-world data, real-world evidence, clinical studies, and questionnaires, whatever you can think of. So here again more about the platform. So it's basically a fairly simple offering. So you can have samples, you can have associated biodata, and you can have both of them. And then on top of that, you can also then contact the sample donors or patients based on their characteristics to ask them if they would like to participate in your study, whether it's a clinical study or a questionnaire, a survey, whatever interview you have in mind. And there in the bottom right hand corner you can see this logo with Oma Biopankki, means my biobank in Finnish, and that's also an online service which we've used to run these surveys, or basically you can invite people to log in and fill in questionnaires for the researchers, and that's then also possible. So biodata, samples, contacting. If you go to the fingenius.fi site, these are the things that you will find there currently. So there's a catalog of biobank samples where you can search biobank material based on diagnosis codes. So that might already help you in some cases get some kind of idea of what's available. It doesn't have everything in it, so if you don't find what you're looking for there, it still makes sense to submit a feasibility request, which just means that you define what kind of study you're planning and what kind of data or samples you think you will need, and submit that, and then the biobanks will find what they have, and FinBB will then compile the data and provide you with an answer that this kind of material is available from Finland for your purposes. And if everything looks promising, then you can file in an access request and to actually get the samples and or data and other services that you're interested in. So these three components are there currently. There's been a lot of interest in this finding study participants lately, so that is possible, and the biobanks have run several projects already on this. So in Finland we have this biobank system where you have biobank consent, and we also ask then the sample donors if they would be happy to be contacted in case it seems they would fit in or could benefit from a clinical study, for example. And most of the sample donors have consented and are consenting to being recontacted, so we can reach out to them if there's a study that could be relevant for them, or where they could fit as study participants. So you could, for example, request contacting based on certain genotypes or phenotypes or their combinations. So we are interested in this and this kind of patients or sample donors, and please could you send them information about our study, and so it goes. So basically it's a centrally coordinated service, but the contacts will be through the local biobanks with whom the sample donors have a relationship and to whom they have given their consent. So really almost any kind of health related studies or clinical trials or questionnaires and things like these. Yeah, the ability to recall and recruit patients is very exciting, says the head of early clinical development from a big pharma company whose name apparently we are not allowed to reveal. Here's more about the same, basically. So especially if you have complex patient populations, even populations undiagnosed, if they are low volume, there are not too many of them. They tend to be hard to find for clinical studies, especially if it's an underlying undetected condition. So you cannot just find these patients through existing hospital connections, for example. Then the biobank system can be useful here, and FinBB is working on this. So all of this is currently already possible, but we are working also on making more of it sort of visible and available online, so that there will be digital services that facilitate the process and enable following then where the project is going, so how the candidates are found, how many respond, and where the project is going. And this section of the FinGenius platform is opening next month. Really advantage, I guess, fairly obvious. You can find relevant candidates through the biobank infrastructure. Sometimes you can use several channels, so you can maximize your reach and find as many patients or those at risk. whoever then is interesting to your particular study. You can combine biobank contacting and other kind of more traditional ways of finding the participants. Yeah, a lot of kind of advertising there. I won't go through that, but I think you get the kind of idea what's possible here. So this is kind of an overview of what's happened so far. So this technical platform was opened in 2019, and there have been more than 240 availability questions and then over 140 access requests through this channel, and there are more than 500 registered users at the moment. And it's open. Basically, you can go to the site fingenews.fi and see the material and find out if it could be something that works for you if you're a researcher. Oncology is the biggest area where that's been, from which the studies have come so far, but also neurological, autoimmune diseases, cardiometabolic diseases, and so forth and so forth. Lately, of course, also then COVID-19. Here's the site also. It looks like you can find kind of let's say use cases, scientific news, projects that have happened, kind of ideas of what can be done through this channel and the Finnish biobank system. So this is from the site how it looks like. So news and other stuff. I'm not going through these. I think this is getting towards the end of the presentation here. So why choose FinGenius or FinBB, Finnish biobanks in general? Unique was a word used earlier already, I think, and one of the unique opportunity of Finland is the bottleneck effect of how the population has formulated over the centuries. It's still very homogeneous in the sense that the genetic profiles are fairly alike. So if you want to find something that stands out, find signals in the genomic data, then that kind of research is typically easier in a homogeneous population. You have genome and omics data available both from research projects and diagnostic tests, and you also have high quality samples and then other clinical data available, diagnosis and so forth, imaging data, whatever. And the biobank data gets enriched through research project, and so that when there's, for example, this FinGen project I mentioned, so the genomic data produced by FinGen comes back to the biobanks, and then it can be used for other research projects through the biobanks. You can find and recruit study participants. So you can formulate what kind of sample donor patient would be suitable for your study and contact them then through the biobank infra. And we enable, although we have many biobanks, many kinds of sample and data sources, we provide a centralized service, one contract, coordinate answers and responses from various biobanks and so forth. And so you have a kind of central contact for your questions and queries and kind of contracting. So here, I believe is the last one. So a few messages to remember if you need to choose two things. So if you want to access the unique Finnish biobank samples data and/or patients, then go to fingenius.fi and register. And before that, you can check out the examples and opportunities that you will find from that site there. And if you need more, you can contact Johanna or me or Marco. But here are Johanna's contact details here, so you can find them from this presentation, which I believe will be shared with you afterwards then. So that was it from my end. So thank you, and if there are any questions or comments or anything, then you're welcome to present them.